Hello and welcome back to Meat City Gaming. JD here with another episode of World of Tanks Kicking Aces, and this is an encounter battle on Ensk. It is a Tier 10 battle, and I am once again in the Aufklarungspanzer Panther, also known as the Awful Panther. And this video, it'll be the conclusion of a trilogy that I've done recently in the Awful Panther. I have finished the grind, I have unlocked the RU-251, and I will be moving my crew over into that tank. So this is most likely the last battle you'll see in this tank for a while, unless there is a request to do so, to see another one. Then of course I'll fulfill that wish. But other than that, I'm probably going to move my tank my crew onto the RU-251 and begin progressing with that tank, and hopefully have some nice replays to show you in that coming up soon enough. But for now, we are in the Awful Panther. We're in a Tier 10 battle. Now, the previous two videos that I've done on this tank, which I'll put a link up to now, I was not in a Tier 10 match in those games, and so the tank was a little bit more capable. You know, in Tier 10, this gun is very, very vulnerable to bounces. The penetration is just not high enough to go through most of the Tier 10 tanks that you will see, and the damage of the guns that are shooting back at you are much more dangerous than in a Tier 9 or a Tier 8 game, and so you can be removed from the battle very, very quickly. So I'm going to play a little more cautiously. You need to have lower expectations when you end up in a Tier 10 match in a Tier 7 light tank like I am here. You want to try and preserve your tank. Don't YOLO, don't just rush out and light up a couple guys and get taken out right away. You can be valuable, especially in the end game, because you're mobile, because you can flank enemies when it gets down to the final stages of the game. If there's not as many enemies left, you can support another tank, maybe a Tier 10 that's making a push on an enemy, and you can get around to the sides, the flanks, the rear, and you can help put in some damage into the weak spots of those other enemy tanks, or at the very least you can track them for your allies. So we've gotten ourselves into a little bit of a position here, and a T-71 on the enemy team, that's an auto-loading American light tank, comes YOLOing through. We put in a couple of shots, but he does hit us once, and it damages our ammo rack. So that's a little unfortunate. We need to burn our repair kit very early. It's something that we might need later, but again, now we're at under 800 hit points, and there's tanks in the game that could take us out in one hit, so maybe we won't need it again, and we certainly want to have our gun firing as rapidly as possible. The fact that we can shoot quickly is about the only advantage we have going for us if we're going to try to perma-track any vehicles that we can flank later on. So we've removed their scout, and the scores are 2-1, and again, you need to play cautiously here. So we're not rushing in anywhere, we're just trying to find some shots where we can, provide some support, and help the team out in any way that we can, which is going to be limited in especially a city map like this. So there's a Jagdpanzer E100, the mighty Jaegeru, and we would have a shot at his side. Well, we do get one there. Our ally was blocking the shot into the tracks. No fault of his own, he didn't know I was there, and his tank is much more valuable for doing damage than mine. But this is about one of the most heavily armored frontally tanks that you're going to ever meet, and so going through it with this gun, I'm not even shooting. There is zero chance of any of these shots going through, even with the premium round loaded. So I am not going to waste the credits, and I'm not going to waste the shot on a tank that it's just not going to work for. So that Jagdpanzer gets removed by our allies, and the scores are looking okay here in the early game. It's 3-1. And now we're going to move up cautiously. We're going to try and support. And actually, it looks like let's not go up the middle, because then you can get shot from multiple directions. We're going to try and control where we can get shot from, so we have a little bit more awareness of what's going on in the battlefield. So we're poking the corner very cautiously. There could be tank destroyers hidden down here at the end of the row. It's a very popular spot for them to be. And we're actually, if I had gone all the way down to the D1 area, that's when they'd have a full line of sight. I'm actually okay to advance here. I see that I've got an ally. I think it's an IS-4 up ahead of me. He's poked that corner, so now we know we're safe to advance up to this location. And we're going to follow and try to support. We get spotted there, so now we need to be careful that there's no surprise waiting for us around this corner. And here we have a little opportunity. There's an AMX right in front of us. Can we put one in? Yes, we can. There we go. There's our first kill of the game, and that's where you can be useful. We took a hit, but we put one in. The reload on some of these Tier 10s is pretty long, so our ally might have had to take another couple of hits there from that auto-loading AMX. If we weren't there to finish him off and secure the kill. So we've got about half our hit points left. Again, we're trying to trade effectively here. We traded one hit for an early light tank. We traded another hit there to secure a kill on the AMX. And we switch back to our regular rounds, and we're going to continue to go hunting here. The battle is going well. So again, we want to support. Now I'm thinking this tank here was looking the other way, and he was, because my allies were pushing through the middle there, so we put one in, but we don't hang around. His turret was swinging around to face us. So we're just going to advance, and we're going to try and go artillery hunting. The scores are looking okay. I feel like the next most important thing is to try and hunt their arty. They've got 2 artillery in the game, And there we go. There's the GW Tiger P. I believe that's a Tier 8 German artillery. Yes, it is. And we're going to put a couple shots in, and now we want to get up. We could ram, but that's not a good idea. That's a heavy tank, even though we might come out better for it. No need to trade our health. We can just park alongside him, pump some shots in, and remove him from the game. Another valuable target taken out for our second kill of the game. Now the problem is we're a little bit isolated. We do have some help here from another light tank, but he's on extremely low health. So we're just kind of hanging out. We're trying to provide a little bit of spotting, a little bit of distraction for the enemies. And here we have an FV4202. That's the Tier 10 British medium tank, and he's on very low health, but I'm not really in a tank that's equipped to deal with him, so we're trying to delay. I just want allies to help, to support. I'm going to try and side scrape a little bit. No, he doesn't take a shot. Again, I'm just delaying here. I really don't want to have this engagement head on. Here I think I have a shot at his flank, and I didn't get the turret around in time. Now we get a shot in, and it bounces. Now we get another one in, it bounces off his front. Now I rammed. Now check that out. I rammed a Tier 10 medium tank in the awful Panther, and it was a pretty much an even exchange. I think about 20 hit points or so lost for each tank. So that's just a sampling of what this tank can do in terms of ramming. You can ram a Tier 10 medium tank in some situations and still come out all right. Unfortunately, it did cost us our tank. After we put in that ram, we took a hit, and that was the end of it for us. But again, we put in 11 hits there. We took out 2 tanks. We tried to provide some distraction, and boy, this is going to be really close. So let's stick with it and see how the rest of the battle goes. It is 12-12, 3 tanks left on each team, and here we see we switch perspective to the IS-4, the friendly IS-4. He's engaging a T-49 with that big old derp gun, and boy, he's struggling here. He's got this dead wreck in front of him that's shielding the T-49. There was an opportunity, but the T-49 is very mobile, so he flanks the IS, gets around his rear. Now, if the IS had backed up, he could have pinned the T-49 into that building, but instead he lets the T-49 then get to his side. He fires a shot over the rear of the T-49, and boy, this guy is just struggling right now to eliminate this tank. Then he takes one in the tracks, and the T-49 is able to back away. The big derp gun on that T-49 has a really, really long reload. So the T-49 gets away, he gets into cover, but now the IS-4 has a little bit of help, and the reinforcements have arrived. And here we go, there's some vengeance for the IS-4. He does get the T-49 as it pops around the corner. So now it is 3-1, and it looks like our allies should be able to clean this up and secure the kill. Let's make sure there's no last-minute heroics from the enemy tank. Comes around the corner. It is an E-75, a very dangerous Tier 9 machine. The IS-4 misses. The E-75 has his rear. Puts one in, but it's into the turret. He rushed that shot. He really should have created a little more separation and put one into the rear of the tank, the engine deck there. He definitely would have gotten a kill. But instead, now he's distracted. He doesn't know which tank to shoot. And the E-75 there. Look at that hero move. The French heavy tank jumps in front of the IS to take the hit, keep him in the game, and then eliminate the E-75. Great teamwork there by the French heavy tank, and a victory for the team. So we'll take a really quick look at the post-game stats. And you can see that we secured our victory for our double. We put in 13,700 silver, about just shy of 4,000 XP for our double for our first win of the game. 1,000 damage and 1,000 assistance damage, and that was enough for a mastery, an ace tanker in this game. Now, this did happen after a reset, so the XP, we'll get to the base XP in a second, it was a bit low. For example, the previous video that I put up for this tank, I did over 1,500 base XP, and it was just a first class mastery badge. So this one is a little bit low for the ace tanker, but still a pretty good game, a pretty good result in a Tier 10 game where you're really just trying to help out, provide assistance where you can, stay in the game as long as possible, and help your allies get a win in any way. But again, you need to have a bit lower expectations when you're on a city map. Your mobility is going to be a little limited, and you're facing Tier 10 enemies. I did make a nice push, I think, at the right time to go hunting for the artillery. That was a good move. I really should have tried to get out of there quickly, though, rather than mess around with that FV4202. I did not. I had 2 opportunities to put 1 hit into him that probably would have removed him from the game, and I didn't succeed at either of those attempts, and it cost me my tank. And we can see here the base XP for that result was 1240, which again is a nice game, but certainly nothing to write home about. For our 15 shots fired, 12 hits, and 10 penetrations. Hey, 10 pens in a Tier 10 game is not too bad. So that's going to wrap up the Aufklarungspanzer Panther. Hopefully through the 3 videos that I've done in this tank, you'll get a bit of an idea on how this tank works, its strengths, its weaknesses, and you'll get a feel for if this tank is right for you to progress down the rest of the line And stay tuned. Please subscribe for future content, and you'll see those RU251 videos coming up. And leave a like. I really appreciate it. It helps the channel out. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.